Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're embarking on a pretty unique kind of trip. We're going to be using a map that wasn't charted by any astronomer, but by an author named Mark Macy through his spiritual research. So get ready, we'll be journeying through his vision of the cosmos, from the very center of it all, right back to our own world, and even a little beyond.
So to get started, the author asks us to look at the universe in a totally new way, not as some big, empty void, but as something structured, kind of like a ladder. In his model, our reality is just one rung, and there are 7 positive levels stretching up above us and 7 darker levels descending below. It's a really bold framework for trying to understand a reality that's way, way bigger than our own.
But hold on. Before we can take this journey, the author says we need to get ready. And this isn't about packing a suitcase, it's about getting into a state of, well, a perfect inner peace. He suggests that the real key to unlocking the path from our world to the very center of everything is letting go of all those earthly attachments. Okay, let's begin. Our journey starts at the absolute origin point, what the author calls the source. And from there, we're going to travel outward. We're starting at the very top, in the highest, most abstract realms of existence that he describes. According to the author, at the absolute center of everything is the source. He describes it not really as a place, but more like a state of perfect stillness, a pure, non-vibrating life energy that holds all the potential to create, well, everything, all of existence. So, as we move away from that still point of the source, the author says that pure energy starts to vibrate, and it forms this ladder of distinct spiritual dimensions. This roadmap right here lays out the path we'll be taking, coming down from the highest, finest vibrations at level 7, the Empyrean, down through paradise and the Summerland, and then eventually landing right here in our own physical world, level 1. The very first beings we'd encounter are way up at the highest levels, 7 and 6. The author portrays them not as solid forms, but as trillions of brilliant points of light. They're described as pure creators, and he says their intentions manifest instantly to create and nourish entire universes. Just think about that. Now, moving down to level 5, the author explains that the life energy becomes a bit more noticeable. It forms what he calls energy beings, and they act as this really crucial bridge, channeling vitality from those super high realms to support the more human-like worlds down below. And what's so fascinating is that the author actually reports direct communication with these beings. As you can see in the quote here, one of them clarified its role. It described itself as a protector watching over humanity. It totally rejected that classic image of a winged angel and instead offered a really different title, a technician. Okay, let's keep moving down the cosmic ladder. We're now entering realms where form actually starts to emerge. In these levels, which the author calls the astral realms, we begin to see familiar, human-like shapes and concepts starting to take hold. The author describes level 4, or the Summerland, as a place where that life energy begins to morph into recognizable forms. These forms, people, landscapes, buildings, they seem really fine and delicate, almost like they're glowing, especially compared to the density of our world. So this is where we see a huge shift in the rules of existence. According to the author, life here is powered entirely by the mind. People can travel just by thinking about it, and they can manifest objects just by imagining them. They're completely freed from the physical limitations and the karmic lessons that really define life here on Earth. Okay, now level 3. This is described as a world that is very, very familiar, a paradise that looks and feels just like an idealized version of Earth. The author's contacts report that people here show up in peak health and at the absolute prime of their lives. And this concept is just fascinating. The author's contacts describe a life where all the simple joys of Earth are still there, but with none of the consequences. I mean, imagine enjoying a huge feast without gaining any weight, or living in a beautiful home that never ever needs a single repair. Our journey is now landing in the realms that are most directly connected to our own physical reality, and this includes what the author calls the holding place for those of us who might arrive in the afterlife with a little too much emotional baggage. The author presents level 2 as a kind of transitional space. It's not a punishment, not at all. It's more like a place to just mellow out, to resolve lingering earthly issues, and sort of refine your energy before moving on to the complete tranquility of that level 3 paradise. So here's a really crucial takeaway from the author's work. Our state of mind at the end of our life determines our immediate destination. For most people who've lived generally decent lives, the path leads straight to the paradise of level 3. But for those who are still deeply attached to earthly dramas and negativity, he says they find themselves in this chaotic shadow world that he calls the earth plane. The author also maps out the lower levels. Just below that earth plane, he describes a purgatory. And it's not a place of punishment, but a place of healing for those who are just overwhelmed by the remorse of having caused other people pain. And then further down are the hells, which he portrays as realms where the malicious aren't held by some external force. They're just trapped by the sheer density of their own negativity. So after this grand cosmic tour, the author brings us right back home, right back to Earth. He distills this entire massive structure into one central lesson about how we can best navigate our own lives, right here and now. The main takeaway really boils down to this one simple principle: resonance. The author argues that our thoughts and our feelings act like a tuning fork, vibrating at a certain frequency. So positive emotions like love and trust, they align us with the finer energies of those higher realms. But on the flip side, negative emotions block that flow, and they effectively trap us in a reality of our own making. So what's the practical solution for navigating all of life's dramas? Well, the author suggests that through practices like meditation or maybe prayer, we can consciously tune out all that noise and connect back to that still, non-vibrating light of the source. And from that perspective, he argues, life's daily challenges just start to lose their power over us. Ultimately, this whole journey through the cosmos leads right back to a deeply personal question. In the middle of our daily lives, how can we stay anchored to the finest parts of ourselves and, according to the author, the universe itself? What does that connection really mean to you?